Good afternoon to you all. It's great to have Prime Minister Frederiksen with us in the European Parliament. Dear Mette, thank you for your clear presentation in plenary this morning and for your commitment and leadership at this critical time. For those of you who follow, there were numerous members who took the floor, and it has just been concluded together with Commissioner Šefčovič. And I think the message from this session has been that Europe really must meet this moment. We must be able to overcome the challenges that we face, and the Danish presidency comes at the right time to deliver the strong Europe in a changing world that we want to see. This Parliament will be a partner as we work towards a safer, smarter and stronger union. We are already acting on defence, addressing migration challenges, we are simplifying legislation, and we are investing in Europe's competitiveness. Couple of points. First, on security. Investment is one element. However, this must be coupled, and we heard this in the Chamber, with a drive to avoid fragmentation, to increase production. And in this regard, we are doing our part. We adopted very quickly our position on the European Defence Industry Programme, the Act in support of ammunition production, and the Common Procurement Act. And it is with this same sense of urgency that we will work towards a conclusion of the latest defence omnibus package by the end of the year, and we will work with your ministers, Mette, in hoping to deliver that. Second, security also means effective migration management, also highly dominant in today's debates. Migration must be firm, it must be fair, and it must be fast. Fair with those who are genuinely in need of protection, firm with those who are not eligible, and fast in returning those who must do so. The Parliament, in fact, is committing to advancing the return regulation swiftly, so this will help ensure that return decisions are enforced in a harmonised way and that our asylum systems remain credible and sustainable. And I am convinced that in the next 6 months, with the team that we have, we can see results. Secure Europe also depends on a strong and competitive economy. This will also be the focus of the next 6 months. This Parliament and the Danish Presidency, we understand that if we want Europe to be competitive, we need to cut unnecessary bureaucracy. Parliament in this regard is very much pushing the simplification agenda. We have voted to postpone certain reporting obligations for EU companies and potential penalties for car manufacturers. We're moving ahead with changes to the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive and the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, and also CBAM, carbon border adjustment, to adapt them to current reality. Last but not least, and a number of members mentioned this together with the Commission, a word on the long-term budget, the MFF. A stronger Europe needs a strategic, a flexible and a responsible budget where funds match objectives. For us, clearest of messages that we are ready. We have the Commission President in the Conference of Presidents in a few hours from now in this building, where we will set out once again our priorities as we define them in May and our expectations from the Commission proposal next week. So, last word, with Denmark taking the reins in the Council, I very much know that together we can build a more secure, competitive and resilient Europe. Thank you.
Prime Minister Frederiksen.
Thank you, Roberta. Thank you for inviting me to Strasbourg today. And as you said, Denmark is taking over the presidency at a very defining moment for Europe. We got a lot of support today, and not on all topics from all groups, but if I put it all together, then we have support from the European Parliament to do what is necessary during the next 6 months. I think we had quite a good discussion today for the majority of the politicians in the European Parliament. We have agreed that the task is clear. We have to ensure that Europe will be able to handle all the different challenges in front of us, that we have to act quickly and that we have to work together in the Council and the European Parliament. For me, there is only one answer to all the challenges that we are facing right now, and it is Europe, 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 a strong, a safe Europe, is absolute a main goal for the Danish presidency, and it has been at the forefront of our discussions today. With all the uncertainty in the world and with all the uncertainty in daily life for many Europeans, we have to create a stronger and safe Europe for our citizens. To achieve this goal, our main topic, our main goal is to rearm Europe not later than 2030. And we have a lot of measures that has to be taken to ensure this. Develop capability projects together, scale up, of course, our defence industry, procure together and break down all the barriers and obstacles that are on our way. We have, of course, to continue our support to Ukraine. We have to put them in the best possible position on the battlefield, but also on the negotiation table. So, as I said to the Parliament, I think we have to look at our support for Ukraine in a different way. This is not only a question about Ukraine, it's a question about Europe. They are now defending Europe, our continent. A strong Europe means also a safe Europe. We talked a lot about migration. Today it's a dividing question for the European Parliament, but we have to continue finding the right measures. I think a lot of good proposals are now on the table from the Commission. We will do what we can to ensure that we will have the necessary results. We have to lower the influx, we have to increase the number of returns, and we have to protect our external borders. And as you said, we also have to build a competitive and green Europe, so ease barriers and burdens, reduce energy prices, and promote the needed investments. There are a lot of different tasks in front of us. They are all interlinked, and none of them are easy. But if we are able to work together, the Council and the Parliament, the way the two of us are working together, then I'm pretty sure that we will manage, and I look forward in taking over the presidency.
Thank you. We now have the time for a few questions. And if you take a question, can you state your name, media, and who do you address the question to? We have Ole.
Merci, Delphine. Ole Ryber from Danish National Radio and Television. Judging from the different rounds of applause that you got in the hemicycle, Denmark has put climate change and the 2040 goal on the agenda already for environmental ministers meeting in your hometown, Prime Minister, in Aalborg later this week, and they've convened an extraordinary council for the 18th of September to get a goal from the council on the 2040 measures. Judging from the applause and your experience today, are you sure and have you assured that you can get Parliament on board for this? And to President Mette, I know you're the President of the Parliament, but you're also a very experienced MEP, so you know this chamber better than most. Are you going to put the 2040 targets in Parliament on a fast track for handling this? And what is your estimation on the new composition of the Parliament in order to get ambitious goals on climate change through the Parliament?
Thank you for that question. Unfortunately, I think all green decisions are going to be difficult in the next half a year. And I say unfortunately because I really believe that we have to fight climate change. And I think we have shown in Denmark that it is possible to have very high ambitions and to ensure the green transition without destroying the social balance in your country. In fact, thousands of people are now going to job every day in Denmark because of the green transition, not the other way around. So, of course, a new target when it comes to 2040 is important, but it is also important that we get rid of Russian oil and gas. For me, these two things are interlinked, and when we are talking about security in Europe, it is interlinked to energy. So I want Europe to be independent in from all angles, including energy. So we will do our best, but as you said, it looks difficult, and it seems to me that because there are so many other things on the table and so many challenges that some colleagues are starting to forget that fighting climate change should be one of our top priorities, but we will try.
So how I know this Parliament and what I can predict. I mentioned I mentioned specific references to climate legislation that we've already passed and found majorities for a reason, because I want to prove that Europe and this Parliament remains resolute on that direction of tackling climate change. What we also have to recognise is that this Parliament is different to the previous one. And perhaps there is an increasing number of members who, when they look back at what has been decided by the Chamber, is a symbol of having gone too far, too fast. That is why also coupling any environmental legislation and next steps with the simplification agenda, with securing jobs, with securing growth, will help us in creating an overall sense that we can find majorities in this House. If we look only to one side or we look to the other side, we will not find those majorities. So my job is also to make sure that the centre works together in this regard. On 2040 specifically, there was just a request for urgency withdrawn a couple of minutes ago from the plenary, so we will see how that develops. It has been referred to the relevant committees, which is Environment and Industry, and we will see as the rapporteurs are identified. But in terms of finding negotiations and moving, what we will try to do, at least what I hope to do, is that when you have a partner in the Council that you can move lockstep together, then we will manage. That's my, let's say, optimistic hope as of today, 7th July. 8th July. We will speak again in December at the end of the Danish presidency.
Thank you. We have Financial Times.
Hello, Palatamo with the FT. Prime Minister, I would like to ask you, in the past you have dropped opposition to more joint debt and European-level funding for defence. What I'm asking you today is, would you be open to more joint debt for any other reason than boosting defence funding? Thanks.
Well, my take on this question about financing some of the needed measures are totally interlinked with the question about security in Europe. And for me, number one priority is rearming Europe. I am, as you probably know, one of the European leaders that unfortunately believe that Russia are willing to continue their war, not only in Ukraine, but also in other parts of Europe. And therefore, we have to rearm ourselves. And of course, when you look at the world with my eyes, and putting security as number one, and the need for rearming Europe is number one priority, then you have to be pragmatic on how to reach that goal. And I am aware, of course, that our starting point in the member states are different when it comes to financing 5%, as we agreed on in Hague only a few weeks ago. And therefore, we are now being more flexible and pragmatic in the discussions about the next budget. But for me, it's linked with the rearming of Europe and not any other questions.
Next question, we will take Lisa.
Hi, Lisa Hesselund from TV2 Denmark. My question is a more geopolitical one, a more political one. For you, Mrs. Metsola, I wonder, you represent the European citizens, and I wonder how you see the European interests that are at stake here in our relations with the US, specifically with the Trump administration. How would you like to see European interests asserted towards Trump, who's also pressuring us? the Europeans on trade, on defense geopolitically towards the Kingdom of Denmark, and of course also again on the citizens who might have to pay the price in terms of tariffs on European goods. How would you like to assert European interest? And for you, Prime Minister, a more specific questions relating to the trade negotiations that are taking place at the moment with the Americans. What kind of trade deal would you be willing to accept, and would you accept in the European Council a trade deal that would leave 10% or more percent tariffs on European goods? Thanks.
So I will answer in a way as I would answer any question in terms of what Europe needs to be best at is coherence. And if I look back in the past where perhaps we didn't get things right is when we were not coherent, where we didn't speak with one voice, where there was an expectation that we would say things and we did another, where unpredictability led more than predictability that our citizens, our businesses, our industries need so much more of. Last year, when all European citizens went to vote for this Parliament, they asked for clarity on making sure they're more secure, their life is easier, and that their job is guaranteed. That is what we need to keep at the back of everything, because otherwise we cannot go in 2029 and ask those citizens to once again trust us with 5 years of decision-making in this House that should impact their everyday lives. And it is against this background that we also ask that the messaging with the United States takes place. We are firm, and we continue to be firm in our belief that tariffs benefit nobody. We do not want a protracted trade war. We do not want a slippery slope road to the bottom race of protectionism. We're also realistic in that what coherence will bring is what we can tell our businesses and our citizens to expect. So the next few days, and we have full faith in Commissioner Šefčovič and his team, is that we need to come out of this summer with that kind of certainty that our citizens will feel. If we don't have that, I predict that we will have more, let's say, unpredictability, which we don't want. And in this case, from our end, as a Parliament, we will have a role to play on the actual trade agreement. And therefore, our International Trade Committee is very much on the ball in this regard. And from a bilateral perspective, we have always had excellent cooperation with Congress. Different countries have relations with their counterparts on which they've worked with on similar issues, whether on international issues, whether on human rights, whether on geopolitical causes. On Ukraine we find commonalities. When it comes to our positions on Iran, we find commonalities. We can help in that debate, because what we also want is an understanding from the US when they see what we are doing, that we essentially remain their biggest and best partner, if I could say.
And on trade, I don't have a lot to add. I totally agree, and a war on trade and tariffs will not only be a burden to Europe, to our companies and our citizens, but also to US companies and therefore US citizens. So I think we should do what we can to avoid it. The negotiations are at a critical stage right now, because deadline is just in front of us. So I don't have any more to add.
Thank you. We will take a last question, and I had Irina first. Sorry.
Thank you so much. Irina Nedeva, Strasbourg Calling is the name of the Bulgarian public radio program I'm working with. Madam President, after the vote on Bulgaria adoption of the euro, so this is this historic euro moment for Bulgaria, and before the 1st of January, how should the EU institutions address the concerns of some citizens that the price will rise up, having in mind that the Eurosceptical sentiments are amplified by anti-EU disinformation campaign, also run by political actors on a high level? And I have a question also to the Danish Prime Minister. How does the Danish presidency see the latest enlargement of the Eurozone, being at the same time outside the Eurozone?
My part is easier, I think. So, I think we have an excellent result in the plenary just a few moments ago when 531 members voted for Bulgaria to join the Eurozone and paving, I would say, the last steps of what we have been saying for a long time, that Evroto es stabilnost, you know, the euro means security and stability. There was an attempt to block this vote today. It failed. So the message for any concerns in that regard is quite resounding and clear. On, let's say, the difficulties and the questions, we have a lot of Bulgarian citizens who asked us those questions, and we need to answer them. We need to answer them by saying that Bulgaria has shown incredible commitment, by seeing the resounding success after so many years of being outside that Bulgaria shows inside the Schengen area, decision that was taken last year, by having achieved already substantial progress towards full economic convergence, by saying the truth that the lev has been linked to the euro for over 25 years, so Bulgaria is not starting from zero. I believe, and I know because I went through this debate in my country when the euro was introduced, and the concerns were similar, that we need to counter them with facts, honest debates as to what is true and what is not.
You said it yourself. Thank you for your question that Denmark as a member state, we have an opt-out when it comes to the euro, so I don't think it's up to me to give any advices or to engage in specific questions, but as a member of the European Council, we support the work that has been done from Bulgaria and from the Commission when it comes to this question.